I want to get it to the HangMan game to go. And so one of the things I did is I made a folder in htdocs. I made a subfolder called poi. I could make a subfolder and call it something else, and that would be fine as well. The reason I like to have a subfolder, not just in htdocs, is so when I go localhost and my subfolder, I can see all the files in there. So let me just quickly show you how to make a subfolder. I'm going to make a new folder in htdocs. I'm going to call it game. And I'm going to take my HangMan. And notice I don't put any spaces. That also makes it a little easier as well, so you don't get the, but it's called game. And I'll just put, for now, the HangMan game in here. So here's my HangMan game. And so if I go to localhost and game, I'll see all the files in there, and I can just click on it to get it to execute. So where we're at so far in the HangMan game is if I guess a letter like O, it's going to display the letter O. It displays the dashes, and the letter O I cannot click again. It's been disabled. And if I guess the letter A, for example, it's going to say you guessed the letter A, and I want to put it to say wrong if I make a wrong guess. So you'll see here this says wrong. The other thing I'm going to want to do is I want to display all my guesses, and I want to display the secret word. Eventually, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to, of course, not display it. But this is sort of my debug mode that shows me what's going on in the game. Okay, so let's get working on this and see if I can make it work well. So let's go back to localhost and HangMan, and I want to show you how I'm going to, if I guess a wrong guess, I want it to display a wrong guess. So here's my HangMan game. And what I want to do is I want to put this in here. So currently, how the HangMan game works is here's the game. I start my PHP. My secret word, it's a variable. And so when the game starts, the secret word is velocity. I then check if I have anything in the URL, such as letter guessed. If there is something in the URL, I create a variable called current guess, and I get from the URL the letter guessed. So let's take a look at my game here. If I click on the game the first time, there's nothing in the URL. So I look in the URL, there's nothing here. So that means nothing is set. In particular, what I'm going to look at is letter guess set? No, it's not. So because nothing is set, my variable is going to be, it's not going to get something from the URL. So what I do is I say, then the current guess is nothing. If the URL has nothing, the current guess is nothing. Okay? So in here, this is where I'd want to say, I could take my current guess. So in the very beginning, I could say, oh, is the current guess correct or is it incorrect? And this is where I would want to put, so if I've had a guess, so I had a guess, and is the guess wrong, then I want to increase the HangMan pictures or variable. So that's what I want to do here. So when I take a guess, I want to see if it's wrong. I don't care if it's right. My program works if it's right. But I want to guess if it's wrong. So what I'm going to do in the game here is when I guess a letter, notice in the URL it says old letter guessed, and it also has the current letter guessed, which in this case was the letter O, and it displays O down here. So what I want to do here is I want to display, the first thing I want to do is just see, is the letter O in the word velocity, right? And I don't want to do a display thing. I just want to know if it's wrong. In this case, it is right. There is a letter O. But suppose I guess a letter A. That might be a likely another guess. And so the letter guessed in this time is the letter A. And right now, nothing happens. But I want to at least acknowledge that I got a wrong guess this turn. So let's add that right to the current guess. Where I'm checking what the current guess is, this is where I'd want to make this variable. So what I do is a very simple if statement. What I would do is say if it's a wrong guess. So if it's a wrong guess, what I want to do is I would want to do something such as echo wrong. I'm just going to echo wrong. So if it's a wrong guess, I want to acknowledge it's wrong. That's a first step in doing it. And then the next step is creating a variable. So how do I tell if a guess is right or wrong? Well, remember the the function we created. We created a function called has it been used before? Has the letter been used in all letters guessed? So in other words, has been used will search a string, in this case all letters guessed, for a letter. So we've used this function quite a bit. So it's great. I can use this has been used function. And so what I would say is in my if statement here, I would say if has been used in secret word and my current guess, and if it's equal to, notice I put the double equal to, false. So if has been used if the current guess so if has been used, the secret word using the current guess is in the secret word is false, I want to display wrong. And so let me just execute this. So I'll go back to the game and we'll test it out. So in the first game, I guess the letter O. The letter O appears here. It wasn't a wrong guess. I'll guess again the letter A, and you'll notice the word wrong appears here. It says A, wrong. Great. Let me guess another letter such as T, and the wrong goes away because T is not a wrong guess. So only when I guess, let me guess Z. If it's a letter that is not in the word, wrong appears. If it's a guess that is in the word, wrong's not going to appear. So I reused that function. And very easily, I said if has been used secret word guesses in secret word, if it's wrong equal to false, I can echo wrong. Instead of echoing wrong, now that I know that works, I don't need this debug mode. So in fact, I'm going to start getting rid of the debug mode, and I'm simply just going to put slashes now because I don't really need that. So what I want to do is I'm going to take a variable. Instead of echoing wrong, what I will do though is I'm going to create a variable called wrong guess, and I'm going to say wrong guess is going to equal wrong guess plus 1. So what is wrong guess? I don't know what the previous wrong guesses were. So if I got a wrong guess, what I need to do is I need to say wrong guess. Sorry. This will make it a little simpler. So the wrong guess equals what the previous wrong guesses were. Well, what were the previous wrong guesses? Well, what I'm going to need to do is I need to read from the URL what the wrong guesses were. So I'm going to get the wrong guess from the URL. So the wrong guess is going to get what the old number of wrong guesses were from the URL, and I'm going to increment it by 1. Now suppose I hadn't started playing the game yet, and there's nothing in the URL. I haven't put wrong guess in the URL yet. So this is something else I'm going to have to do as well. And so what I'm going to also need to do is, if this is the first time we're guessing, and we haven't even guessed, we haven't even guessed a letter yet, I need to say the wrong guess equals the number 0. So it was, so the wrong guess is a value of 0. So I get, so if I have, because why is it 0? In this case, I've not yet guessed a letter. So if I haven't even guessed a letter, how could I have any wrong guesses? Finally, the last thing I need to do is I need to put a hidden field, and the hidden field is going to have the number of wrong guesses. So I'm going to echo, create a type that's hidden. I'm going to call it wrong guess, and its value is going to equal, and this is a little trick I do. So input, type is hidden, name is wrong guess, value is going to equal the variable wrong guess. So my variable is called $wrong guess, and that is going to go into the URL in something called wrong guess. Finally, just because I'm still debugging, I might display, although I'm trying to get rid of my display, I could display in a paragraph, echo, paragraph, the number of wrong guesses so far is, and put wrong guess. And I probably forgot a semicolon somewhere, so let's just see if this works. Okay, so I run the game now. Let's go back to the HangMan game folder. Oh wait, yeah. And so far so good. I can guess the letter O. Undefined variable wrong guess in line 31. Oh, I knew I made a mistake somewhere. Line 31, wrong guess. Wrong guess should have been up here. If letter guessed if I set letter guessed, wrong guess. Oh! This wrong guess should have been set there. I wonder what I did wrong here. So, oh, you know what's wrong? The letter O is my first guess. If the very first time you guess, there was no wrong guess in the URL. If I guess the letter T, I still don't have a wrong guess. If I guess the letter A, then it will start, and you can see the wrong guess. The number of wrong guesses starts working. So what I need to do is I need to, when I get it correct, it doesn't know what wrong guess is. So I need to also put in here, so if it's wrong, the number of wrong guesses is going to be wrong guess plus 1. And if it's correct, wrong guess, I don't have something, I need an else statement. So if it's else, I need to say that if that wrong guess is not going to increment by 1. It's just going to be that. Okay, so the wrong guess is just going to get what the wrong guess is. Does that make sense? So if I've guessed a letter, if it's correct, sorry, I should have probably done it this way. If the guess hasn't been used, the wrong guess is going to get from the URL the wrong guess and add 1. But if it has been used, the wrong guess is just going to be what the wrong guess was in the URL. Sorry, I didn't have that. So there you go. It should now work. And I'm pretty confident it's going to work, but let's just test it out. So I go to HangMan, and when I guess a letter, I'm going to guess a letter O. You've guessed O. The number of wrong guesses so far is 0. The secret word is velocity. O appears here. If I guess a wrong guess, I've guessed an O and an A so far. The total number of wrong guesses is 1. And let me guess, B, C, D. E is not wrong, so that time it didn't work. So the last thing I now have to do is get rid of this because everything's working. And instead of saying the number of wrong guesses so far, is I need to have a display of the HangMan game.